The alien general's dismissal. In the Grand War room aboard the alien command ship, the atmosphere was thick with arrogance. The space outside the window was filled with the sight of thousands of ships hovering above Earth, ready to launch the invasion. The alien generals, seated in a circular room with holographic displays of Earth's defenses, looked down at the planet with cold indifference. They had seen many civilizations rise and fall across the stars. But humanity, well, they were nothing more than a blip on the radar. "Look at this primitive planet," General Vrax said with a dismissive snort, his long, sharp fingers swiping through the holographic map. "They barely understand the basics of interstellar travel, and yet they think they can defend themselves from us." His voice was laced with disdain as he looked over his fellow generals. The others nodded in agreement. Earth was a backward planet. Its people were weak, unrefined, and still fighting wars with crude weapons that barely left a mark on an alien shield. There was no strategy, no real technology, just chaos and disorder. "We've watched their military for years," General Cortal added, his voice dripping with superiority. "Their strongest soldiers are nothing but children playing with toys. They'll fall within days, perhaps hours. This humanity does not deserve to be a part of the galaxy." The other generals chuckled at the thought. They had dealt with far superior enemies in the past, races that had actually put up a fight. Humanity, however, was a different story. Their technology was primitive, their strategies simplistic. The generals had come to the conclusion that the humans were beneath them. In the center of the room, a large holographic display showed the cities of Earth. The generals could see human soldiers fighting amongst themselves, using old-fashioned guns and vehicles that looked like relics from another age. Earth's governments were still embroiled in conflict, unable to unify against a common threat. It was laughable to them. General Zalter, who had been silent until now, leaned forward and smiled cruelly. "Their strongest weapon is nothing more than human will, and that will is weak." Vrax nodded, tapping a button that zoomed in on the human military command. "There is no organization, no cohesion in their ranks. It is every man for himself. They are completely outmatched." The generals began to laugh, their voices echoing through the command room. It was clear that the alien race had underestimated Earth's potential, but they felt confident that they could crush the humans with ease. The generals had no respect for the human race. They saw them as little more than insects, scurrying about on their tiny planet. As the aliens continued to discuss their plans, another figure appeared on the edge of the room, a young alien officer. He had been watching the meeting from a distance, waiting for the right moment to speak. He was new to the council, fresh from the front lines, and he had seen something strange about the humans, something that the generals hadn't noticed. "Excuse me, sirs," the officer said, stepping forward hesitantly. His voice quivered slightly under the weight of the general's attention. "I've been studying their combat records from Earth's last few skirmishes with alien forces, and there's something I don't understand." The generals turned to look at him, some narrowing their eyes in annoyance. They didn't like interruptions, especially not from someone who hadn't even seen a real battle. "Go ahead, officer," General Vrax said coldly, clearly not expecting anything of importance. The officer swallowed hard before continuing. "I've noticed that their soldiers, despite their lack of advanced weaponry and technology, seem to survive longer than expected. They have a strange adaptability in combat. I've seen humans survive against foes with far superior strength and firepower." There was a brief silence in the room. The generals exchanged looks, all of them silently dismissing the officer's concerns. They were more experienced, wiser. They knew how to win wars. This was Earth, after all. "They must be lucky," General Cortal said with a wave of his hand. "No more than that. Luck can only take you so far." But the officer wasn't finished. "I disagree. I believe there's something more to them, something we've overlooked. Their will to survive. It's unlike anything I've ever seen." For a moment, there was no response. The general stared at the officer as though he had lost his mind. Vrax leaned back in his chair, crossing his arms. "You're wasting our time. They're not even worth the effort of a full-scale attack. We'll crush them easily. The invasion will be swift, and we'll be on our way to more important conquests." The officer hesitated. He could see that the generals weren't taking him seriously, but something deep inside him made him continue. "With all due respect, sirs, we may be making a grave mistake, underestimating them cold." "Enough," General Zolter interrupted, slamming his fist on the table. "We are the conquerors of the galaxy. We have never lost. These humans are nothing. You will follow orders, or you will not be part of this mission." The officer, now visibly shaken, bowed his head and backed away. He had hoped to make them see what he had seen, but it seemed like there was no hope. The generals were set in their ways, and nothing would change their minds. As the meeting continued, the officer could only watch in silence, his concerns ignored. What he didn't know was that the humans, the very creatures they mocked, were about to prove them all wrong. The general's laughter would soon turn to shock, but for now, they remained unaware of the storm that was coming, one that would shake them to their very core. A mysterious human soldier. The alien fleet hovered over Earth, its massive ships casting shadows over the planet. The generals sat in their control room, confident in their victory. Their ships were equipped with the most advanced weapons, and they had already wiped out other civilizations without breaking a sweat. The humans didn't stand a chance. Yet, even as they made their final preparations to invade, the mysterious officer's words still echoed in the back of their minds. Could humanity really be more than just primitive? They dismissed the thought. They were the masters of the galaxy. No human could possibly change that. But as they continued to talk, far away on Earth, in a small military base tucked into the mountains, one human soldier was preparing for something that would defy all logic. Captain Ethan Graves stood in front of a massive training facility. Sweat glistened on his forehead as he stared up at the mountain towering above him. It was a simple mountain, just a rock formation like any other. But for Ethan, it represented something much bigger. He wasn't like the soldiers the aliens had seen in Earth's past. Ethan wasn't the strongest or the most physically imposing person. He wasn't the most skilled fighter either. But there was something inside him. Something that set him apart from the rest. It wasn't just about strength or skill. It was about something far more powerful. Determination. As he gazed up at the mountain, his mind raced. The war had been raging for months, and humans had been struggling. They were outmatched, outclassed, and outgunned. But they hadn't given up, and neither would he. Ethan had been trained for this moment. He had trained his body to the breaking point. He had trained his mind to push beyond its limits. But what the aliens didn't know was that humans had something they didn't have, something no advanced race could ever replicate: the will to survive, the will to fight back, no matter how impossible the odds seemed. The training ground was empty, the wind howling through the trees. Ethan took a deep breath and began to climb. The first few steps were easy. He had been climbing mountains for years. But as he ascended higher, the terrain grew more treacherous. His muscles burned with the strain, but he ignored the pain. He pushed forward, focusing on the peak that seemed so far away. His mind flashed back to the battles he had fought, the endless weeks of fighting against superior forces. The aliens hadn't given humanity a chance, but every time they tried to push them down, humans had fought back. They had stood tall when everything else seemed to be crumbling. And in every battle, one thing remained true. They had never given up. Not today. Ethan muttered under his breath as he reached a particularly difficult stretch of the mountain. We're not giving up today. With every step, the mountain seemed to get steeper, the air thinner, but Ethan's resolve only strengthened. He reached the final stretch of the climb, where the peak stood directly in front of him. It was the hardest part, but it was also the most important. Ethan wasn't just climbing this mountain for practice. He was climbing it to show the world, and the aliens, that humanity wasn't done yet. They had barely begun. The challenges they faced were big, too big for most people to comprehend. But not for him. Not for humanity. With a final grunt, Ethan reached the top of the mountain. He stood there for a moment, breathing heavily, taking in the view of the world below. The human race had been pushed to its limits, but it hadn't broken, and neither had he. As the wind whipped around him, Ethan made a vow. He would fight. He would lead the humans into battle, and he would prove that the aliens had underestimated them. He had to. For the future of humanity. For the survival of Earth. Back in the war room of the alien command ship, the generals continued to plan their attack, unaware of the human soldiers standing on top of that mountain. They still mocked humanity, believing them to be weak. But what they didn't know was that their arrogance would be their downfall. The aliens thought they knew what was coming. They thought they had Earth's fate sealed. But they were wrong. For the first time in their history, the generals would learn that underestimating humanity was the biggest mistake they could make. The first clash. Captain Ethan Graves stood tall on the peak of the mountain, staring down at the world below. His muscles ached, and his body screamed for rest, but his mind was sharp. He had made a statement to himself, to humanity, and to the aliens who thought they could conquer Earth. "I will be the spark," he muttered. "The rest will follow." He wasn't the only one preparing. Humanity had been pushed to the brink, but they weren't going down without a fight. In every corner of Earth, soldiers, scientists, and civilians had begun to rise. They had found new strength in their unity, a bond that could never be broken. Back at the command center, Ethan's actions had not gone unnoticed. The officers who observed his climb were astounded. They had watched as a single human pushed his way to the top of that mountain, against all odds. It wasn't just about strength, it was about spirit, about the will to never surrender. For the first time, the alien generals began to feel something they hadn't expected: doubt. Meanwhile, in the alien war room, the generals were preparing to launch their assault. Their ships loomed ominously in Earth's atmosphere, and their fleet was set to invade. They couldn't wait to crush humanity beneath their heels. Yet, one thought kept gnawing at the back of their minds: the human soldier they had watched earlier, Ethan Graves. "He climbed that mountain with ease," General Courtol remarked, his voice thoughtful, "and with determination, perhaps more than we expected from their kind." General Vrack scoffed, but there was no denying it. They had underestimated humans before, and it had cost them dearly in past encounters with less advanced civilizations. But this was Earth, a planet full of unpredictable creatures, and it seemed that humanity's unpredictability was their greatest strength. "Well," Vrax grunted, "it changes nothing. We attack tomorrow. No matter how determined they are still weak." The decision had been made. The aliens would strike. The first wave of alien ships descended upon Earth with terrifying speed. Their ships were enormous, their weapons powerful enough to vaporize entire cities with a single shot. The generals had anticipated Earth's military to scatter in fear, to be defeated with little resistance. But what they didn't account for was the force that awaited them. Humanity had been preparing for this moment for years, quietly, in secret. The military had developed new weapons, technology, and tactics, born from the sheer necessity to survive. They weren't ready to defeat the aliens yet, but they were ready to fight. As the first alien ship landed in New York City, it unleashed a terrifying barrage of energy blasts. Buildings crumbled in seconds, and civilians ran for their lives. The streets erupted in chaos as the alien forces began their invasion, but something was different. The human soldiers weren't running. They were fighting back. From the shadows, squads of human resistance fighters emerged, their rifles blazing. They fought with ferocity and precision, firing at the alien forces from every angle. But the real surprise came from Ethan Graves, who led a group of highly trained soldiers through the streets. Ethan wasn't just any soldier. He had a presence about him that rallied the human resistance in ways that no one had anticipated. His leadership was infectious, and his will to win spread through every soldier he commanded. "Stay close, stay sharp," Ethan shouted over the noise of explosions and gunfire. "We're not just fighting to survive. We're fighting to win." As Ethan and his team stormed through the alien lines, they encountered a wave of alien drones, mechanical monsters capable of wiping out entire battalions with ease. They were fast, heavily armored, and armed with weapons that could cut through even the toughest human armor. But what the aliens didn't know was that humanity had been studying their tactics, their weaknesses, their technology. Ethan's squad set a series of traps, explosives hidden beneath the ground, pulse charges placed at key locations. As the alien drones advanced, they triggered the traps. The ground shook as explosions ripped through the alien forces. Ethan's team didn't hesitate. They moved swiftly, taking down the remaining drones with precision. It was the first real victory humanity had achieved against the alien invaders, and it sent shockwaves through the alien ranks. In the command ship, the generals watched the footage in disbelief. The humans had actually managed to put up a fight. "What is happening?" General Zalter growled, his fists clenching in frustration. "They should have crumbled. Why are they still standing?" General Kortel's eyes narrowed. "Something has changed. These humans, they are far more resilient than we gave them credit for." Vrax, still determined not to back down, slammed his fist against the table. "It's a fluke. A mere delay. The invasion continues as planned." But as the generals debated, another transmission came in. This time, it wasn't a human message, but a clip that was starting to go viral on Earth's communication networks. It was footage of a human soldier, Ethan Graves, picking up a massive piece of debris, lifting it above his head like it was nothing. He was standing tall amidst the destruction, and his face was determined. The generals stared at the screen in stunned silence. Ethan's display of strength wasn't just about lifting something heavy. It was a symbol, a message to the aliens. "We are not done," the humans were saying. "We will fight, and we will win." Back on Earth, in cities torn apart by war, hope was beginning to spread. The human spirit was alive, and the aliens were starting to realize just how dangerous that spirit could be. The clash had only just begun, but one thing was certain: the aliens had severely underestimated humanity. And now, they were going to pay the price. The turning point. The night sky over Earth was alight with the streaking flames of incoming alien vessels. Thousands of ships hovered above cities, their weapons poised and ready to unleash devastation upon the planet below. The alien generals, confident in their impending victory, had underestimated the one thing they had failed to calculate: the willpower of humanity. On the streets of New York, Captain Ethan Graves and his team moved quickly, their footsteps echoing against the pavement as they traversed through the wreckage left by the alien invaders. Every corner, every street was littered with destroyed vehicles, alien wreckage, and the remains of what had once been the thriving heart of human civilization. Yet through the devastation, humanity remained unbroken. Ethan and his squad weren't just fighting to survive anymore. They were fighting for the future of their species. "I've got eyes on the target," Sergeant Thompson whispered, pointing to an alien supply ship hovering above the ruins of a nearby building. "If we hit that thing, we can take out their entire energy grid for this sector." Ethan nodded, his mind calculating the risk. It was a dangerous mission, but it was their best shot. If they could destroy the alien energy source, they could disrupt the invaders' operations and slow down the entire invasion force. "Let's move," Ethan ordered. The squad advanced under the cover of darkness, slipping through the shadows of the ruined city. Every step was calculated, every movement deliberate. The aliens were watching, but their technology couldn't match the stealth and adaptability of human forces. As they approached the supply ship, the squad set up their explosives with precision. They had to make this count. As the timer on the explosives ticked down, a loud roar erupted overhead. Ethan's heart skipped a beat as he looked up. A massive alien warship had broken through Earth's atmosphere, its colossal form blocking out the stars. The ship's engines roared, and its weapons glowed with ominous energy. The timing couldn't have been worse. If they didn't take down the energy grid now, humanity's chances of survival would be all but gone. "Time's up," Ethan muttered. The explosives went off in a thunderous blast. The supply ship's energy core detonated, sending a shockwave of energy rippling through the streets. The alien warship above them shuddered, its weapons flickering as the disruption took effect. The humans had dealt a blow, but the battle was far from over. Back in the alien command ship, General Cortal slammed his fist against the console in frustration. "This is unacceptable. The humans, they've taken down one of our energy grids." General Vrax stood silent, his hands clenched at his sides. He had never imagined the humans could cause so much trouble. He had believed their conquest would be swift, effortless, but instead, the humans had proven to be resilient, resourceful, even. It was almost as if every time they were pushed to the brink, they only became more dangerous. "They're using guerrilla tactics, targeting our weak points," Cortal growled. "They're not just soldiers, they're smart. They know how to hurt us." The alien generals had expected to crush Earth's defenses, but what they hadn't planned for was the sheer adaptability of humanity. They had thought that once their advanced technology arrived, the humans would fall. But instead, the humans were learning, evolving, and fighting back with a fierceness that left the aliens stunned. "I want every ship deployed to search for these human insurgents," Cortal ordered, his voice growing colder with each passing moment. "And find Ethan Graves. He's the one who has been leading these attacks." As the alien forces regrouped, Earth's resistance only grew stronger. The human spirit, that indomitable force that had once been underestimated, now shone brighter than ever before. Civilians and soldiers alike, once afraid, had found new strength in the face of overwhelming odds. They weren't just fighting for survival anymore. They were fighting for their way of life, for their families, and for their planet. Ethan Graves had become a symbol, not just for his squad, but for humanity as a whole. His name spread across the globe like wildfire, and with it, a new hope. Across the planet, people began to rise. Resistance movements flared up in every corner of the Earth, all inspired by the same message: humanity would not give up. In every city, every small town, and in every military outpost, people fought with a renewed sense of purpose. They made weapons out of what they had. They formed alliances, pooled their knowledge, and worked together as they never had before. Alien technology was reverse engineered, and humanity began to gain a foothold in this war. But Ethan's journey was just beginning. He knew the road ahead would be long and fraught with danger. The aliens would not relent, but neither would he. As night fell over the city, Ethan gathered his squad once more. They stood on a rooftop overlooking the horizon, the fires of distant battles flickering in the distance. The mood was somber, but there was a flicker of determination in each of their eyes. "Tomorrow," Ethan said, "we take the fight to them." The squad nodded, ready for whatever came next. Back in the alien fleet, General Cortal paced in front of his command officers. The situation was deteriorating faster than they had anticipated. The humans were fighting back, against all odds, and the alien generals were losing control of the situation. "Prepare the fleet," Cortal ordered, his voice sharp. "We're going to end this once and for all." The countdown had begun. Earth's last stand was on the horizon. The aliens had underestimated the strength of humanity, and now they would pay the price. Humanity wasn't done fighting. In fact, they were just getting started. The battle for Earth. The first rays of dawn broke over the devastated landscape of Earth, casting a faint light on the charred remnants of cities, yet the human spirit still glowed with resilience. The battle was far from over, but humanity had done what no one thought possible. They had delayed the alien forces and proved their will to fight. Now, the time had come to take the war directly to the invaders. Captain Ethan Graves stood in the command room, his eyes scanning the holographic map of Earth's surface. His team had become one of the most effective fighting units humanity had to offer, and it was time for their biggest mission yet, to take down the heart of the alien invasion. The enemy's flagship was located in Earth's orbit, a massive warship capable of erasing entire continents with its weapons. Destroying that ship would cripple the invaders and potentially change the course of the war. But it would require every ounce of strength, courage, and ingenuity humanity could muster. "We need a distraction," Ethan said, his voice firm. "While we go for the flagship, we need the ground teams to hit the alien forces from all angles. We'll divide their focus so they can't concentrate on one thing at a time." Sergeant Thompson, a seasoned veteran, stepped forward, his face hardened by the endless weeks of combat. "We can do it, sir. But it'll be a close call. That flagship's defenses are formidable. We're going to need all the help we can get." Ethan nodded. The resistance movements from all over the world were now organized into one united force, and their combined efforts had created an army unlike anything the aliens had ever seen. But the question still lingered. Would it be enough? In the skies above, the alien fleet hovered ominously, a dark blot against the rising sun. The alien warships, their sleek, jagged forms like predatory birds of prey, were poised to strike. The alien generals had received reports of humanity's growing resistance, but they were too confident in their power. They had underestimated the humans, but they were about to learn just how much they had miscalculated. General Cortl stood at the helm of the flagship, his eyes locked onto the battlefield below. The alien fleet was ready for the final assault. The time for mercy had passed. These humans would be eradicated. "Prepare to initiate the final invasion," Cortl ordered, his voice cold and decisive. "These primitive creatures think they can stop us. We will show them the price of defiance." But as the alien fleet began to charge, something unexpected happened. A single ship, piloted by humans, burst through Earth's atmosphere, hurtling toward the flagship at breakneck speed. It was a human-made vessel, something primitive by alien standards. But the speed and determination it carried spoke volumes. The alien forces laughed at first. A single ship against a fleet, it was laughable. But as the human ship approached, the alien commanders quickly realized that this was no ordinary vessel. It was a suicide mission. The humans were willing to risk everything to make their final stand. On the ground, Ethan and his team prepared for the most dangerous assault of their lives. They had already taken down several key alien supply lines and installations, but this mission would be different. This time, they were not just trying to survive. They were fighting for the future of Earth. Ethan's heart raced as he entered the cockpit of the human assault craft, his team ready at his side. They were about to embark on a journey that could either save or destroy humanity. "Everyone stay sharp," he ordered. "This is it. We either win or we die trying." The craft roared to life, and with a sudden jolt, they were airborne. Through the thick smoke and clouds, Ethan watched as their target, the alien flagship, loomed larger and larger. The ship was massive, its sleek, metallic surface glinting under the morning sun. Its weapon systems were powerful, and its shields were nearly impenetrable. But Ethan had a plan. "We've got one shot at this," he said, as he set the ship on a collision course with the alien warship's main reactor. The mission was risky, dangerously so, but it was the only way. In space, the alien generals watched in disbelief as the human ship approached. It was almost like the humans had nothing left to lose. In their desperation, they had thrown everything they had into this one final attack. "We can't let them succeed," General Vrax growled. "Prepare to engage the defense systems. Activate the turrets and fire at will." But the human craft was too quick. It weaved in and out of enemy fire, using the chaos of the battle to its advantage. The alien ships, caught off guard by the sudden appearance of the craft, were slow to react, and before the aliens knew it, the human ship was inside the perimeter of their defenses. Ethan's fingers tightened on the controls as he brought the ship into the perfect position. His heart pounded in his chest as he keyed in the final command. "Now," he shouted. The ship's warheads detonated with a blinding flash. A shockwave tore through the alien flagship, rattling its hull and sending sparks flying from its control panels. The explosion was massive, a cloud of fire and energy cascading outward from the ship's center. It wasn't just a blow to the ship, it was a blow to the alien invasion as a whole. On Earth, the human resistance fighters watched in awe as the alien flagship began to fall apart in the sky above. The ground shook as the enemy ship's explosion sent shockwaves through the atmosphere. The alien forces on Earth were left vulnerable, their once impenetrable fleet now in disarray. Back in the command room, Ethan's squad held their breath, waiting for confirmation. And then the message came through. The flagship had been destroyed. "We did it," Sergeant Thompson whispered, a look of disbelief in his eyes. "We actually did it." The alien generals, on the other hand, were in a state of panic. They had lost their flagship, the heart of their invasion fleet, and the humans had done what no one thought possible. The balance had shifted, and now the aliens were left scrambling for a way to recover. But it was too late. The tide of battle had turned, and humanity had proven that they were more than capable of defending their world. The message was clear. Earth was no longer the helpless planet it had once been. The alien invaders would now face the full wrath of humanity. The counterattack begins. In the wake of their victory over the alien flagship, Earth's resistance forces erupted into a roar of triumph. The skies above were filled with the remnants of the alien fleet, some ships slowly drifting towards Earth's atmosphere, while others scattered, retreating to the far reaches of space. The balance of power had shifted, and now humanity was on the offensive. Captain Ethan Graves stood with his team in the newly established command center in Washington, D.C., overseeing the rapid deployment of human forces. The mood was a mix of relief and anticipation. The battle was far from over, but the loss of the alien flagship had broken the invaders' momentum. Now, humanity had a chance to reclaim its planet and drive the aliens back. "We have them on the run," Sergeant Thompson said, glancing over the new intel reports coming in. "Their forces are scattered. The remaining fleet is trying to regroup. This is our opportunity." Ethan nodded, eyes narrowed. The destruction of the flagship was a major blow to the alien forces, but they were not defeated yet. The invasion was still in full swing. Alien ships remained in Earth's orbit, and their ground forces had begun to consolidate their positions, preparing for a counteroffensive. Now was the time to push forward. "We're not done yet," Ethan said, his voice resolute. "We take this opportunity to push back their forces, disrupt their command structure, and send them a clear message. Earth will not fall." Meanwhile, above Earth, the remnants of the alien fleet began to reorganize. Alien warships, once proud and unstoppable, now seemed more vulnerable. They had underestimated humanity. What had been an easy conquest, as they thought, had turned into a full-fledged war. Now, the tables had turned, and they found themselves struggling to maintain control. General Cortl stood in the command room of the lead alien ship, his face grim. The destruction of the flagship was a blow from which they might not recover. It was not just the loss of a ship, it was the loss of the symbol of their superiority. The humans had managed to destroy it against all odds, and that could not go unpunished. "We cannot afford to retreat," Cortl growled, his eyes burning with anger. "We must crush these insects before they regroup. If they know we are weak, they will rally. We need to strike back, and we need to do it now." His officers quickly sprang into action, preparing their remaining ships for a retaliatory strike. They would not let a mere human resistance force threaten their conquest of Earth. On the surface, humanity's forces were already mobilizing. The resistance groups from all around the world had gathered to form a unified front. Despite the losses, despite the destruction of their cities, the will to fight had never been stronger. The people of Earth were united now, and they knew this was their moment to push back. Ethan and his team were tasked with leading one of the most dangerous missions of the war, infiltrating an alien command center located deep within a heavily guarded fortress in the heart of what was once Beijing. The aliens had set up this fortress to coordinate their global attacks, and it was heavily defended. If they could destroy this command center, it would cripple the alien forces and give humanity a decisive edge in the war. The mission was risky, too risky, many argued, but Ethan had never been one to shy away from danger, especially not now. "We're going in," Ethan said, looking over his team with a sense of determination. "We hit them where it hurts." The assault would be brutal, but the human soldiers had one advantage. The aliens hadn't expected them to be capable of coordinated, strategic strikes like this. Humanity's adaptability had always been their greatest weapon, and now it was time to use it. The assault on the alien fortress began at nightfall. Thousands of human fighters, backed by advanced technology scavenged from the battlefield, moved stealthily towards the fortress's perimeter. Their goal was simple: destroy the aliens' command systems and ensure their communications were severed. As Ethan's squad approached the fortress, the towering alien structures loomed before them, an impenetrable maze of metallic walls and advanced security systems. Yet, for all their advanced technology, the humans knew their surroundings like the back of their hands. The Resistance had mapped out the alien base using intelligence gathered from multiple raids, and they knew every weak spot to exploit. They worked quickly, silently, cutting through the alien defenses. Each step was dangerous, every move calculated, but Ethan had faith in his team's ability. They had proven themselves time and time again. The first wave of soldiers, equipped with advanced weapons, stormed the outer gates, taking down alien guards with precision. The alien forces were caught off guard by the speed of the attack. The humans were already inside, and the battle began in full force. Explosions rocked the walls as ground troops took on the alien soldiers head-on. Inside, Ethan's squad raced through the corridors of the command center. They had to get to the central control room. If they could destroy it, the alien forces would lose their coordination and face chaos in the midst of their retreat. The path to the control room was guarded heavily, but Ethan's team had one advantage. They had the element of surprise. At the same time, the aliens' last-ditch attempt at a counteroffensive had begun. With their fleet in disarray, they resorted to desperate measures. They began launching attacks from orbit, raining down fire upon Earth's cities. The battle above escalated quickly, and the aliens began to regain some ground, but it was clear they were fighting on borrowed time. Their once dominant force was now crumbling. General Cortal watched as the humans continued their assault, each successful strike weakening his command. He had no choice but to call for reinforcements from the alien homeworld. "We will not lose to these creatures," Cortal said, gritting his teeth. "Prepare for a full-scale counterattack, but we must destroy their command center first." As the chaos continued to unfold, Ethan and his team reached the heart of the command center. The final countdown began. The explosives were set. It was time to end the alien presence in Beijing once and for all. Ethan took a deep breath, staring at the glowing consoles and the alien technology that had plagued humanity for so long. This was it, the final moment of their mission. The blast was imminent, and with it, the aliens' control over Earth would be shattered. "Get clear," Ethan ordered, pressing the detonator. The explosion tore through the heart of the alien command center, sending shockwaves through the fortress. The building collapsed into itself, and with it, the last stronghold of the invaders on Earth crumbled. Back at the Resistance Command, the success of the mission was broadcast to the entire world. The alien command structure was in ruins, and the remaining alien forces were left in disarray. Earth's resistance had struck a decisive blow. But the war was far from over. The aliens were regrouping, and they would fight with everything they had left. Humanity's victory had only just begun. The final push. The explosion that had shattered the alien command center in Beijing reverberated across the globe, a resounding declaration that humanity was no longer the helpless target of an invasion. The destruction of the command center had not only crippled the invaders' operations on Earth, but also left them scrambling for answers. The aliens were disoriented, their once coordinated strikes faltering as confusion spread through their ranks. Back in the Resistance's newly fortified headquarters, Captain Ethan Graves stood before a map of the world. The planet was scared by the conflict, cities still smoldering, fields of fire marking where humanity's last stand had taken place. Yet, amidst the devastation, there was a spark, hope. Humanity had survived the worst of the assault, and now, with the alien forces in disarray, it was time to strike the final blow. "We'd have them on the ropes," Ethan said, his voice steady, though his eyes held the weight of the countless battles they had fought. "The aliens are fractured. Their command structure is collapsing. Now is our chance to hit them where it hurts." The command center was buzzing with activity as resistance fighters, soldiers, and strategists pored over the information coming in. The tide of battle was shifting, but the war was not yet won. The alien forces were still formidable, and their retreating ships had begun to regroup in space. General Kortal, still reeling from the losses on Earth, was determined to rally his forces. "The humans may have won a few skirmishes, but the war is far from over," he barked, watching the status reports on the warship's massive screens. "We will take back Earth, no matter the cost." The alien fleet had retreated to a safe distance, where their reinforcements from distant star systems were now arriving. They were preparing for a counterattack, and their leaders had abandoned their previous arrogance. The alien forces understood now that humanity was a threat they could no longer underestimate. But despite their best efforts, the damage done to their morale and infrastructure was undeniable. Above Earth, the remaining alien warships hum ominously in the black expanse of space, their weapons systems recharging for the next phase of the invasion. But the aliens were not prepared for what came next. Down on Earth, Ethan and his squad had already launched their final mission. Their target, the last remaining alien mothership, a vessel so large it could swallow entire cities whole. It was stationed in Earth's orbit, a dark, looming presence that blocked out the stars. This ship was the key to the alien invasion, the center of their remaining military operations. If it could be destroyed, the aliens would have no choice but to retreat. "Time to end this," Ethan muttered, adjusting the controls of the human assault ship. His team was ready, and so was he. They had fought tooth and nail to get this far, and now they would finish what they had started. The mission was an all-or-nothing gamble. The alien mothership was heavily fortified, and its defenses were almost impenetrable. But Ethan had a plan, one that had worked before. Strike fast, strike hard, and don't give the enemy time to react. As the human assault craft launched into space, the team braced themselves for what was to come. They had done their best to stay hidden, sneaking past alien patrols and avoiding detection. But they knew once they got within range of the mothership, all hell would break loose. The time for stealth was over. Above Earth, the battle was intensifying. Alien ships fired down beams of energy, obliterating any resistance they encountered. The ground forces were still battling fiercely, but the alien mothership remained the largest threat. If humanity had any chance of survival, the mothership had to be destroyed. Nothing else mattered. Inside the alien warship, General Kortal was watching the human assault craft approach. His eyes narrowed in fury as he saw the fleet of ships heading toward his mothership. "They think they can defeat us with a handful of ships," Kortal sneered. "Prepare the final defense protocols. No human will reach this ship." But it was too late. The human assault craft had already entered the outer perimeter of the alien mothership's defense grid. The alien shields hummed with energy as the first wave of human missiles struck them, but they were designed to withstand regular fire, not the intense precision of the humans' newly upgraded weapons. Ethan and his team had spent weeks modifying their weapons, using alien technology they had scavenged, And now the results were proving effective. The first blast broke through the mothership's outer shield, creating a breach in its defenses. The humans had found their opening. "Now hit them with everything we've got," Ethan shouted, guiding the ship closer to the heart of the mothership. The alien defense systems were firing back, beams of deadly energy lighting up the void of space. But the humans were relentless, striking back with precision and speed. Each hit weakened the mothership, and soon, the once unstoppable fortress of the alien fleet was beginning to crack under the pressure. On Earth, the human forces cheered as the explosions in space illuminated the sky. The tide had truly turned. The mothership's shields were weakening, and the humans were slowly but surely tearing it apart. For the first time in the entire conflict, the aliens were on the defensive, and there was no turning back. "Captain, we're almost there," Sergeant Thompson reported, his voice tight with excitement and fear. "The mothership's core is exposed. One more strike should do it." Ethan's eyes narrowed. This was it, the final push. If they could strike the heart of the mothership, the alien forces would be forced to retreat in defeat. With a final, synchronized effort, the human assault ship fired its last barrage. The shots hit the core of the mothership with surgical precision. There was a blinding flash of light, followed by a deafening explosion that shook the very fabric of space. The alien mothership, once a symbol of their power, was now a flaming wreck, drifting silently through the void. On Earth, the world watched in awe as the news spread. The alien mothership had been destroyed, and with it, the last of the invaders' power on Earth had collapsed. The resistance forces had achieved what no one had thought possible. They had defeated an alien race far more advanced than their own. The aliens, their once proud fleet shattered, were forced to retreat. But humanity's victory was bittersweet. The war had cost them dearly, but it had also shown the entire galaxy something that would never be forgotten. Earth was no longer a world to be conquered. As Ethan stood in the command center, watching the broadcast of the final battle, a deep sense of pride washed over him. They had won. The war was over, but the legacy of humanity's victory had only just begun.